Hello students, welcome to PRS Biology. So today we are going to discuss about the Cori cycle or lactic acid cycle. So what is Cori cycle? So Cori cycle is related to the cellular respiration. During an exercise, for example while running, the lactic acid is produced and through the Cori cycle lactic acid is managed. So lactic acid is very harmful for us. Cori cycle deals with the management of the lactic acid. So it is also called the lactic acid cycle. Today we are going to discuss about the Cori cycle or lactic acid cycle. We know that the cellular respiration is of two types, that is, in presence of oxygen it is called aerobic respiration, and in absence of oxygen it is anaerobic respiration. In absence of oxygen, the respiration is called the anaerobic respiration. In general, the cell in presence of oxygen, the glucose is converted to pyruvic acid. You know that it is the glycolysis. So in normal cases, the cellular respiration deals with the breakdown of glucose into pyruvic acid, and then the pyruvic acid is again undergo tricarboxylic acid cycle or Krebs cycle, and it will produce NADH2, FADH2, that is all are ATP. So energy is produced here from the aerobic mode of respiration. Glucose is converted into pyruvic acid, and then pyruvic acid is again undergo a cycle called Krebs cycle, and this all ultimately gives rise the ATP molecule. So it is the normal pathway that always undergone in our cells. But what will happen during an exercise? So during an exercise, the body, for example the running, the body requires energy, but there is no oxygen, there is no supply of oxygen. So there is a oxygen scarcity condition appear in our cells. Then the glucose is first, and it will happen in the muscle cell. So it will happen in the muscle cell. So during muscle cell, at first the glucose is converted into pyruvic acid, but then the pyruvic acid is converted into the lactic acid. It is happen during an exercise like gym work or during running with the help of an enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. So lactic acid is produced and it is very harmful to our body. So therefore the lactic acid have to be managed. The lactic acid have to be managed or bypassed from somehow. Now for the management of the lactic acid, the liver comes into play. So liver convert or manage this lactic acid. Also during this condition, another important fact is that during the conversion of glucose to pyruvic acid, and the Krebs cycle, it will give rise around the 32 ATP molecules. But here in anaerobic respiration, only 2 ATP molecules will be formed. So there total loss of 30 ATP molecules, so a serious condition will appear if there is no alternate pathway for management of this problem. So now for that, lactic acid have to be managed. So it is the bloodstream I have drawn here. It is the bloodstream, and from the lactic acid is now goes to the bloodstream, and then suppose this is liver. The lactic acid produced through the anaerobic respiration goes to the bloodstream, and then it enters to the liver. Lactic acid. In the liver, the lactic acid is converted into pyruvic acid by the same enzyme, that is lactate dehydrogenase, and then the pyruvic acid is now converted to glucose. So glucose is produced from pyruvic acid. Glucose is produced, and it is called the gluconeogenesis or neoglucogenesis. So gluconeogenesis process form the glucose. So you see, the lactic acid is produced during our exercise, during cellular respiration, is now goes to the bloodstream, and through that bloodstream it enters to the liver. So then the lactic acid is again converted to pyruvic acid through the same enzyme, that is lactate dehydrogenase, and then it again converted into glucose through gluconeogenesis. Now the glucose is returned to the bloodstream. So if we get glucose, there is no complexities there, and the glucose is now enters to the muscle cell to perform the normal process. So in this way, our body, our cells manage the lactic acid produced during the anaerobic respiration in our cell. So it is a total process of Cori cycle. In this way, our body become managed all those complexity, and so this type of complexity arises. If there is no Cori cycle, there will be a main problem, but our body is managed, our body is mechanically well balanced to do such a breathing complex work, and the liver, you see, the liver has the main purpose, liver has the main function to manage these all activities. So we can write the exact definition of the Cori cycle, and it is: the Cori cycle is a metabolic pathway in which lactic acid produced by anaerobic glycolysis in muscle transported to liver and converted to glucose, which then return to the muscle. So it is the definition of the Cori cycle. It is a metabolic pathway in which lactic acid is managed, that produced during anaerobic glycolysis in the muscle cells, and from that muscle cell it is transported to liver through the bloodstream, and in the liver it is converted to glucose, and then the glucose is again returned to the muscle cells. So again, there are certain very important significance of Cori cycle. So the Cori cycle prevents lactic acidosis in muscle. So if there is no Cori cycle in our body, it causes the accumulation of the lactic acid during the muscular activities, and it will lead to serious complications. So the Cori cycle prevents the lactic acidosis in muscle cells. It is also important to produce ATP, an energy source during muscular activity. So during a muscular activity, we have the energy to do any work. In RBC, there is no mitochondria. So in RBC, the Cori cycle regulates the binding of oxygen with the hemoglobin. Thus, the Cori cycle also helps to the formation of oxyhemoglobin in red blood cells.